Hello there and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who wore his lucky waistcoat to the office today. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I was not ready for that level of enthusiasm. I should have seen it coming, though.
I'm ever so slightly extra upbeat today. Spoilers early.
Yep.
England beat Sweden 2-0 in the World Cup quarterfinal. Do you know what happens if you win a
World Cup quarterfinal?
In the World Cup, one of the World Cup quarterfinals. Do you know what happens if you win one of the World Cup quarterfinals?
You go to the semifinals.
You go to one of the World Cup semifinals. Yes. I want to get my elation out of the way first, but I want to thank you for wearing the waistcoat. You genuinely wore the Southgate waistcoat to the office.
I had I wrote the reminder on my hand yesterday.
Did you?
Because you were saying, I think the one you had to wear for my wedding, it was khaki, so it doesn't quite work for the situation, but I have a black one, so I wore that one for you.
Nice dark
along
color.
with my 3/4 length Adidas running pants and a t-shirt. It's a great look.
It's definitely a combo.
Yeah, it's one that I'm not going to wear out in public, otherwise people will ask questions.
It wasn't quite as well suited as
those questions will be, are you crazy? I think.
Not quite as well matched and suited as England's chosen lineup and strategy for this game.
Well done.
How about that?
Well done.
Professional. All right, so England beat Sweden 2-0. We thought Sweden would give England a lot more trouble because they have that 4-4-2 block that's very hard to chip away at. We thought it might take 2 hours plus.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
It did not.
England were 1-0 up after 30 minutes, and it felt very comfortable from there on out. My question to you, Mr. Taylor Rockwell, is how and why were England able to break through Sweden?
Just stiff upper lip and minding the gap and all that. I think we had some ideas about what they could do in the preview. One thing that we didn't sort of look at maybe more intensely than maybe we should have is just the idea that they might just think, okay, let's go set pieces. And I think that's kind of what they did. It's worth noting, you pointed this out, I think we confirmed it when we went back and watched. The goal they score off of, 30th minute,
one?
The corner they score off of, is the first corner that they had in the game.
So this has been a knock against England, which I'm not complaining about. I'm trying not to be too fanish here. I understand that as teams go deep in the tournament, people start weighing what are they good at, what are they bad at, right? And one of the criticisms of England has been they don't create many chances from open play. Most of their goals are coming from set pieces, penalty kicks, corner kicks, etc. I think in hindsight, maybe that was a strength going into the game against Sweden because even if they defend well, you're eventually going to get a corner kick or a free kick or something.
Yeah.
And then England can capitalise when they do get a corner kick.
Yeah.
Which is what they did. Harry Maguire on his head, 1-0 to England in the 30th minute. Then we'll get to the goal, but then the game changes, right? Because no longer can Sweden sit in the 4-4-2 and say, hey, we're going to frustrate you. Because then England can say, you do that, we'd lead 1-0.
Yeah.
We can do that for another 60 minutes quite happily. Thank you very much.
Exactly, and that's where I would say to your earlier point that there were some chances. Jordan Pickford has a couple good saves in the second half, but for the most part, it really was England felt like they were in control. Then they got the lead, and after that, it really is England can just sit back and absorb and look for opportunities and exploit vulnerabilities.
Because England have their own defensive shape, right? Which we saw at the end of the Colombia game. They can sit in the 5-3-2.
Yep.
It's very easy to spot the shape, which I think is, in a weird way, a credit to England that they're able to just be very disciplined in that 5-3-2. Occasionally a wing-back will come and show pressure to the wing, but most of the time they just sit there and they're very hard to get through themselves.
Yeah, and it was a lot of unison shifting. If you watch either angle for the TV, you
Tactics
can see
cam or regular TV cam.
I don't know what to the telecam. I always forget what you call that one. But either way,
Normcore cam.
You can see them all moving in sort of synchronized way, and that's not to say that they're doing beautiful swan imitations as they spin around in circles. But it's more so that you'll watch Maguire, Stones, and Walker all step at the exact same moment. They'll just take 3 steps forward in unison. You'll see the 3 midfielders in the 5-3-2 slide from right to left and left to right in unison. And it speaks to how well drilled this team is and how, as you said, they have their own defensive system that's very difficult to break down.
Okay, so England scored from the corner kick.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the actual Harry Maguire header and how he got free and how he scored? Or do you want to talk about how England won that corner kick? I think both are very interesting, but I'm not sure which way around to do
Let's
it.
go with how they won it first.
Okay, how they won it. This was interesting.
Yep.
It was the first corner kick they won. They had struggled up to this point to create any good chances, I would say. Sweden had forced them wide. England had floated in some crosses, but nothing really that dangerous, partly because they didn't have space to set it up and take their time and pick a man out. Sweden had been denying Jordan Henderson the ball, right? This was part of our guess as what Sweden would do, because they always denied the distributive midfield of the ball by the two strikers, Berg and Toivonen, will block off space to that centre mid. That had been happening until it stopped happening.
And I want to say, though, that like this, again, was a very different game. This is an obvious thing, but it was a very different game from what we saw against England and, say, Iceland in the Euros, where England, it felt like they were sort of probing for weaknesses against Iceland, but it always seemed sort of...
Found none.
But it felt like they were sort of probing and then halfway through forgot what they were doing and just tried a shot or just tried to force something. And this England, by comparison, it felt like they were probing and looking for vulnerabilities, but kind of had an idea of what those might look like. And so when they finally got one in this sequence, they exploited it very well. And it's basically Berg stepping forward when I think he's not supposed to. Yeah. He steps to John Stones, was it? And then, but because he's left space, now Jordan Henderson is somewhat open. It's a good ball from John Stones.
In a way that he had not been for the entire 30 minutes, because Berg had been blocking any pass from the centre-backs into Jordan Henderson. So suddenly, for the first time in half an hour, the pass is on.
But I guess I don't find that to be a coincidence that the one time Berg over-pursues, England are on it. They play that ball in. Now Sweden have to try to step to Jordan Henderson, but he plays a really quick pass, and suddenly it really is just very fast dominoes falling for Sweden.
Yes.
And I think it's the first time it ends up being a cross that's headed out for a corner.
It's Trippier, and the important part, I think, is that Trippier is open because guys are not there to block him because they're trying to deal with the cascade effect of Henderson being open. And everyone's scrambled a little bit. They're backpedaling.
The scrambling and the backpedaling is the key part for me, because it's Trippier on the ball. There's times when Trippier is going to get the ball out wide and he can cross it in. But the difference being that if he's just crossing it in and Sweden have their two banks of four and they're set to defend across, then they're set and they're meeting that ball, they're driving to it.
Yeah, that's a Grankvist, Lindelof, clear defensive header.
Every time.
We can deal with that every time.
But when they're scrambling a little bit and trying to get back into shape and running backwards, now they're reacting. And now they're sort of having to make a play on the ball in a situation that they probably don't want to. And I genuinely think they were trying not to concede corners. We saw them work hard to have clearances that didn't go out for corners in the first half. This time it did, and then they ended up conceding.
Yeah, because it's like a panicky header at the back post where it might have landed at Ashley Young's feet. I can't remember who it is, but someone had to get there.
I would assume it's Kraft, the right back, the deputizing right back.
That would make sense. All right, and then...
Or Krath, if you go with Adidas lettering, because an A and an A, or an R and an A are the same.
How is the thing that Adidas have got wrong for the jersey design is that the numbers look too similar and the letters look too similar.
Yeah, is it 77? Is it 11? Is it 17? No one knows.
Is that an A? Is that a D? Yep. Is that an O?
Or an R? Yeah.
Bad font choice from Adidas this World Cup.
Not ideal.
Right. Do you think actually were they trying to do like a half Roman Cyrillic type looking thing?
Maybe
that might be part of the
dumb,
plan, right? Yeah, agree.
I mean, I get the idea of incorporating the host nation, but it would be nice to be able to tell players apart.
All right,
and not be like it was 15, it was 17, 19,
75.
It was 4. Somehow it was 4.
It was a corner kick.
Yes, it was.
It was Ashley Young taking the corner kick, right-footed from the left. He drives it in.
Yep.
This part, I think, is interesting. It's not in-swing. It's not out-swing. It's just driven mid-height towards the penalty spot.
Pretty much, I would say probably this is my Man United fandom. I would say it's about as close as you can hit to the penalty spot without actually hitting the penalty spot. I think it's like a designed thing.
You think he plays foot golf?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's probably very good at it.
I would bet most of these players would be good at foot golf. Okay, so Harry Maguire is there to meet it. How is Harry Maguire one of the big aerial threats, right? I would list them as Maguire, Stones, Kane, the big aerial threats. How is he seemingly marked by Emil Forsberg?
Sure.
Because that's who he ends up jumping ahead of and meeting. Forsberg, not a big guy, number 10 creative midfielder. That's not the matchup.
Stiff upper lip, minding the gap, all that. No, well, first of all,
we're going to have a conversation after this show.
And for whoever complained about it, things can be two things right off the bat. But I'll say this. I think it's because Forsberg sort of has the posterizes is the wrong term. I think we've come up for one in the past, but he has the dubious honor of being the player closest to the player who scored the goal.
Yeah.
So it looks like his fault. He was not marking Harry Maguire. He was marking Raheem Sterling. The player who was marking Harry Maguire was
not
question mark.
Not posterized then, framerized.
Yes,
he
exactly.
Was framed.
He's framerized.
Forsberg was framed for this crime.
That is a way better. I'm calling it framerized. Not even framed. He's framerized. But it's because no one is marking Harry Maguire, and I think we have a reason why.
Yes.
I think Sweden were set to defend in a sort of zone, sort of man, a hybrid system. And I think what they're planning to do is kind of...
Zen marking.
Yeah, perfect. They're trying to line up like right around the 6-yard box, and I think then they just track the runs. In a normal team, or like, an amateur team would just have 6 guys in the box and they're all going to make runs to various places. It's relatively easy to track that. The difference here for England is that they have 2 lines of 3 players each.
Yeah.
So you've
I would
got
say 2 stacks of 3.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
They're each they're like lines in a vending machine where they're all stacked up behind each other.
And I think the first line...
And they vend goals.
The first vending machine is, I would say, consists of players that you wouldn't necessarily be afraid of if you're defending set pieces. That would be Raheem Sterling, Dele Alli, Jordan Henderson.
Yep.
Fine, but not the big guys in the back. The other one was John Stones, Harry Maguire, and
Harry Kane.
There we go.
Yeah.
But that front three vending machine.
That's the more expensive item in the vending machine.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, I think... number one, the first one is designed to distract, so they're making really fast runs and they're trying to pull people out of position, but it's also the case that they're setting up right in the middle of where that zonal line wants to be. And so so
they're running disruption, maybe.
I think so. And so they're kind of breaking it up a little bit, and you can see that I think it's Ekdal is pointing out, wait, we have 4 or 5 players marking these 3, but there's only 2 players marking the far more dangerous 3 at the top of the box.
Was Ekdal number 8?
Yes.
Yeah, he got increasingly angry, I think, because he was asking people to do their job and find someone and do something. And I think he ends up just hands on hips, mad at everybody after this goal goes in.
He does, but I think this is where I strangely would say that Jordan Henderson once again comes to the forefront because as they're scrambling, the corner is taken. And Sweden, I think, have recognized, oh no, we're in a defensive mismatch. We need to deal with it, and the corner is taken. You would think that credit goes to Ashley Young, but if you watch a couple different replays, you'll see Young has his hand in the air for a good 8 seconds or so. And that usually signifies, I'm about to take this kick. He keeps leaving it up. Only when Jordan Henderson raises his hand, puts his hand down, that's when Ashley Young starts his run, and then Henderson immediately sprints to the near post, takes 2 defenders with him.
Yes.
And I think it's designed for Jordan Henderson to tell him, everybody's in the set position, play it towards the penalty area, we're all going to make our runs. And it's to his credit that he does just that. Ashley Young puts it right where it needs to be. And I think because of that confusion and a little bit of disorganization, Harry Maguire is never marked. There's no one ever really on him. Forsberg is trying to react, but he's not going to win that ball ever. Instead, Harry Maguire does. McCain is what I just called him. Harry Maguire does. And it's a really good header. As Ali Wagner pointed out, it's down, it's to the corner, it's in a position where the person close to the post can't get it, but the keeper's going to struggle to get down low and deal with it. And in the end, it's in the back of the net.
All right.
Whew,
so
lots to talk about there.
So as we're learning before we do our tour, starting July 17th, worldcupcomedytour.com, we've been talking to Alexis and Christian, the stand-up comedians, the Cooligans. Timing is everything.
Yeah.
On corner kicks as well as in comedy. Timing is everything. And I think that signalling between Young and Henderson was really important in terms of the timing.
Yes. See, I waited. just to ruin the timing.
Yes, yeah, that didn't work.
You're welcome for that.
Wonderful
I'm feeling
example.
loose because England won.
I wonder if they'd let me do the tour without you.
Probably.
Before we talk about England's second goal and everything else that happened in this game, today's celebratory Total Soccer Show is sponsored by Liverpool Jeans, our very first ever jeans sponsor. We're very happy to have Liverpool Jeans sponsor today's show.
And I think Liverpool Jeans are uniquely positioned to be the official jean of England if England ever come calling. I think it would work well for them.
If they want to go bigger than sponsoring the Total Soccer Show, they want to sponsor the whole England team.
I think so, because you think about the England fans you see in the crowd, right? And obviously they're going on a European tour, so they're interested in being cultured, ? But why not?
Have you met England fans?
Yeah, but whatever. Stick with me. It's Liverpool Jeans, so you've got the English connection there. But I think a lot of the fans we see are shirtless with jeans on. And if you want to show I'm stylish and fashionable, but I don't need a top, then you've got Liverpool Jeans. But as we said before, they're comfortable. They're lightweight. They're breathable. They're flexible, so you can still cheer, jump, do whatever you need to do in the stands, and they still make you look fly.
I would argue, with all due respect to England fans, of which I am one and have been one at games, the Liverpool Jeans are a class above the type of jeans that a lot of those England fans would be wearing. I think Liverpool jeans are sort of designer quality, made with similar materials, similar attention to detail, similar longevity, are very expensive jeans. But they're available for under $100.
That's ideal.
Yeah.
That's ideal. They're also available, we have not pointed this out before, to both men and women. They have men's offerings, they have women's offerings, so you can pursue either option.
Yeah, and actually the thing with Liverpool jeans, apparently they made their name originally very popular with for their women's jeans, right? Their men's jeans are now same quality, obviously a men's fit, same quality, but we're really trying to get them to the men's market. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you say we have a lot of female listeners, right? If you think maybe your man deserves some better jeans than the ones he's wearing, maybe nudge him in the direction of liverpooljeans.com.
And I would say I'm very appreciative of the fact that there's easy care options here, where sometimes when it's like the fancier, more designer pants or jeans, then you've got to really worry about how do you launder them, how do you take care of them. I much prefer to just throw things into the washing machine and hope it all works out. But since you've got easy care with Liverpool jeans, it's one less thing to have to worry about.
And if you want 20% off...
I still don't know what hot water is for.
If you want 20% off...
Is it for the white option? I don't know.
I don't know either. Any order from liverpooljeans.com, go to liverpooljeans.com, use the discount code TSS. That's TSS for 20% off at liverpooljeans.com.
Someone please explain what permanent press is.
It's a pressing system.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's less agitation, but either way, you can use whatever setting you want with Liverpool jeans.
It's what Jurgen Klopp does.
Yes.
There you go. All right, so 1-0 to England.
Yep.
The game has changed. Suddenly, Sweden cannot sit in the 4-4-2. They do start to press a little more, but a few gaps start to appear. They eventually switch to a 3-4-3 of their own, which I think is a recognition that England's back three is a thing they need to sort of copy to attempt to counter.
Yeah.
But I actually don't know when they make the switch, but it's nearly 2-0 to England at half-time, and it's nearly that way because of Raheem Sterling.
Which time?
So the first time he's offside, right? He tries to go around Olsen. No, he shoots too close to Olsen, right? I think the second time is when he actually could have made it 2-0. I looked at Facebook, I looked at Twitter, I checked in with some friends back home. Raheem Sterling was not popular in England for this moment. There were some calls to sub him out as soon as possible. I want to be here to defend Raheem Sterling.
Let's do it. I'm all in.
Okay. So first of all, the timing on this run to get himself in behind is mwah. It is perfect.
It's not just the timing for me. It's the location. It's the fact that he stays equidistant between the two center backs, but also those center backs have been distracted by England's other attacking options. So again, very good game plan from England and from Gareth Southgate, but it's good awareness from Raheem Sterling to sort of spot that opportunity, stay in the space, but not give away his position. It's a really good read from Jordan Henderson to play that ball in.
He got one time chips it over the defence for Sterling to run onto, right? Then the second thing that I think is chef's kiss is Sterling's first touch here. We can maybe talk about his second touch later, but the first touch, if you have ever tried to bring a ball down out of the air while maintaining forward momentum, you'll know it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Sterling has the perfect first touch on this ball as it comes down.
I'm not trying to like bring back painful memories for people, but I remember specifically talking about Josie Altidore trying to do almost this exact same sequence and not being able to do it because he couldn't get there fast enough, but then slow down quickly enough to be able to bring that ball down under control. And in the end, I think he just misses it. So you can see like the difference here is that Raheem Sterling is able to, in a very small amount of space, accelerate, slow down, have that really good touch, and set himself up in a position to then decide what he wants to do. And again, I don't think he makes the wrong choice. I think he tries to go around Olsen, the Swedish goalkeeper, because he had made a very good approach to this. Olsen had not over-pursued and tried to come out
fast.
He was off his line, but not off his line in I'm going to run out and just try to like win this ball and then leave a bunch of space where I can just be easily lobbed. He comes out to a spot where if Raheem Sterling tries to hit this first time, maybe he gets lucky and hits it with power into the top corner, but more likely he either hits it right at Olsen or maybe he tries to lob him, but Olsen is in a position where he can just kind of drop back a little bit, catch that ball easily.
The result would have been the same as the first Sterling opportunity a minute earlier. It was offside anyway, so it didn't matter. But you remember, he shoots, but Olsen's there too quickly, it just hits him, right? So Sterling tries to go around him. Olsen gets a hand to it.
That is impressive to me. It's really impressive
Olsen
that he
getting
does
a hand
that.
to it.
But
But then, the key part to this is, after Olsen's got a hand to the ball, as Sterling is going for the ball, Olsen's right hand takes out Sterling's legs.
And that is, I think, unintentional. We watch this a lot, but it's still there, and he definitely gets the ball first. And like, if Raheem Sterling really sells this, it's a questionable penalty call.
Because
I think
a possible penalty
even though Olsen gets the ball first, it's then the case that right hand absolutely blocks one, if not both legs, and really slows what Raheem Sterling is able to do. I think there's an argument to be made. It is a slightly heavy touch away from Olsen for Raheem Sterling. Maybe he's able to get around it and get a shot off. But either way, it stops him from doing what he wants to do and is a major reason why Sterling then has to try to cut back.
I just want to point out to people, when you criticize players for diving, what they're doing is maximizing things like what Sterling could have done here. Right? Getting a touch from the goalkeeper, most players go down, sell the penalty as hard as they could. We could be having a conversation right now that's about why wasn't Sterling awarded that penalty, or about Sterling winning a penalty. He stays on his feet, then gets the ball, but then Sweden are able to regroup. He still makes a mistake, right? We're not saying Sterling did 100% the right thing here. I think he immediately should have squared this ball back to Harry Kane. Sterling hesitates in this moment.
I think the problem is that he then, when he finally gets to the ball, he uses, I think, the outside of his right foot to pull the ball back. And I think he is looking to square the ball for Kane, but basically the touch he takes is too close to his own body. Usually he would try to take that touch back and then, like in the same motion, play it back with his left foot. So you cut back with the outside of your right, you play with your left, that could work. Or even you cut back with your right and you flick it on with your right.
Did he Jordan Morris this?
No, he didn't. He basically kept it too close, so then he didn't have the space to be able to square that ball, so he had to take another little touch and basically turn around, so now he's facing the field of play. When he does that, Harry Kane has basically already gotten into a spot where it would have been a one-time shot, so that ball isn't really on anymore. He then tries to look to Dele Alli. That ball isn't really on at that point either.
Sweden did a good job of regrouping very quickly. It ends with a Grankvist tackle, right? Because he's got himself in front of Sterling, and as Sterling tries to drive to the end line, Grankvist gets a slide tackle.
So it's a mistake in that, like, in his fifth touch after two distinct sequences, he makes a bad touch and then has to make a bad decision as a result.
So what do we make of Sterling's game overall? Like, maybe in the whole tournament, and specifically in this game that England won 2-0, but he's still going to be targeted as the guy that didn't deliver.
I know this is kind of a cop-out answer, but it's genuinely what I believe is it doesn't matter what we think, because it matters what Gareth Southgate thinks. And that's what it comes down to, is there is a reason why Southgate keeps selecting Raheem Sterling. If Sterling weren't doing what was being asked of him, if he were just out there doing his own thing and not being able to pull off moves and messing things up and messing up rhythms, he wouldn't be starting. But I think he's doing exactly what Southgate wants, which is stretching defenses, finding gaps, making runs that open up space. Really, I think opening up lots of space for Harry Kane, because defenses are worried about Raheem Sterling's pace in behind. Maybe they drop a little bit deeper, or maybe they overly focus on him, or just focus two defenders on him instead of two defenders on Harry Kane. And I think, sure, he could make some better decisions. It would be very nice for him, for England, if he had gotten a goal today. I think you're right.
He was definitely left in for the whole game, right? Almost the whole game, as late as possible, to try and get him a goal to just to like up his morale. I think I noticed when he came out off, Southgate was very quick to have an arm around him and a lot of encouragement for Raheem Sterling.
But it feels. With I guess without going too serious, there's like the Parks and Recreation episode when I think Jerry leaves. This is not going to work for some people, but the gist of it is basically Jerry's the one they all make fun of. He retires, and
you mean Gary?
Jerry, Larry, Gingrich, Gergich, and he's the one everybody makes fun of. So when he leaves, there has to be somebody in the office that they make fun of. And it does feel like Raheem Sterling is the person that all the English media are going to focus on. And I think instead of it being because he's a lovable oaf, it's because a lot of people are racist. But that's kind of how I feel. Is he is the focal
That's
point.
How it started with the Daily Mail and other tabloid newspapers.
I think it's that. I think he's a young footballer who does what he wants, and people don't like that for whatever reason. But I think like he could wear on like an England suit and an England hat and love England, and it would be like Raheem Sterling loves England too much. Like, what's wrong with other countries? Like, there's just no way he can win.
It would be about how much he spent on the
Of course
outfit.
it would. Of course it would. So, like, I think, yes, he could have made some better decisions on the day, but the reality is he's doing what I think Gareth Southgate needs him to do to continue England being at the World Cup.
There we go.
They are.
There we go. Yeah, and they only have 2 games maximum left. Should we talk about England's second goal? Dele Alli.
I believe they do have 2 games left.
Oh, because there's a third.
No matter what,
All right, good thinking.
Just one you don't want to be in.
That's it. Yeah. So it's 2-0. It finishes 2-0 because Dele Alli gets a header at the far post from a first-time Jesse Lingard cross.
I love him so much.
There's some nice build-up play from England before this
but
goal.
Who cares? Let's talk about Jesse Lingard.
All right, let's talk about Jesse Lingard.
Well, no, we really don't have to, because again, you're absolutely right. There is really nice build-up play. And I think it starts with, we mentioned in the lead-up to the first goal, to the corner for the first goal, that it's Jordan Henderson with a smart little pass that opens up space.
We didn't talk about this.
Did we not talk about this?
So the first goal, it's worth highlighting. So the first goal to win the corner kick, sorry, this is confusing chronologically, but it's worth noting. when Stones is able to find Jordan Henderson, Henderson does a really nice back heel flick pass to, is it Dele Alli or Jesse Lingard? It's one of his cohabiting midfielders. Who then lays it out to Kieran Trippier. But it's a nice moment of creativity in tight spaces from Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the build-up to this second goal, where he first time lifts a ball out wide to Ashley Young.
Over a Swedish defender. That's the only way that ball gets there. And again, because if you're the Swedish player, you think, I've cut that opportunity out. Ashley Young isn't an option anymore, so they have to recycle the ball back, or they try to have to force a cross in. But instead, you bypass that one player, and suddenly now there's a vulnerability that wasn't there previously. So now Sweden are kind of scrambling again. And then it's really good ball movement and presence of mind from the English team as a whole, I would say, but the two players that definitely come to mind for me here, Dele Alli, because he's the goal scorer, but all of the movements and runs he makes in the lead-up are excellent. And it's Jesse Lingard, because Jesse Lingard is always checking, Daryl.
He certainly
always
is.
Be checking.
So after
ABC,
Henderson,
it works.
ABC?
Always be checking.
So after he goes to the left, the ball gets worked around to the right. Eventually, Kieran Trippier gives it to Dele Alli at basically the top of the box. Jesse Lingard at the top of the box. And Lingard just chips it into the back post first time for Dele Alli to head it, right? It is that simple. But if you watch the build-up, Jesse Lingard is always checking. It is the key thing that really top-level players do, is you see them constantly, we call it check your shoulder, right? You look to the left, you look to the right, and you just always do it as a habit so you know where everybody is and what your options are before you even receive the ball. Second-tier players receive the ball, then look, then make a decision. First-tier players look around before they receive the ball, decisions already made. That's why Lingard can first time hit this ball and land it on Dele Alli's head.
And then Dele Alli, to his credit, has made, I think that's his third run inside the 6-yard box, but he keeps recycling. He keeps making sure he stays on side. He linked up play in the beginning to move the ball from left to right. So it's really good presence of mind and movement from Dele Alli, another player who's gotten a lot of criticism.
He has.
So
I think somewhat more accurately, because I saw him give the ball away early on in this game. He tried a couple moves to get past people. I think maybe he's licensed to try stuff, but he's a guy who tries stuff and loses the ball sometimes. There's another scenario where that bites England in the butt, but not this time. Not this time.
But here, it does not, and it's 2-0 England.
I realised how American it would sound to say that.
Yeah, whatever.
I guess I've just been here too long.
You live here now. You're one of us. The final thing I want to...
I'm not coming home.
No, you're not. The final thing... You are home. Already home. The final thing I wanted to say while we're on the topic of players who maybe haven't gotten as much credit as they should, I'll go ahead and say I had some questions about Jordan Pickford coming in, and then I had more questions about Jordan Pickford because he just never inspired that much confidence. He had a few little drops and a few little misplays.
You heightist.
I mean, maybe it's that too. I don't think it's that. He's 6'1" or whatever. But he made some big saves today. Some great reaction saves. Obviously had the one against Colombia that he put out wide, but it was a great save. Even if it wasn't going in, it's still a great save.
It was going in.
But the thing that I want to talk about with him, or just briefly mention, is that I think he is also incredibly important in a lot of these opportunities for England because of his distribution. And again, if Sweden are set up the way they are, and it kind of limits what you can do, you kind of have to play to like, oh, John Stones is open, and that's what Sweden want you to do. But in the lead up to, I think
it's the Sterling chance.
It's the Sterling chance. Yeah, you're right. It's Sweden kind of have everything blocked off except for Kieran Trippier, who's 40 yards up the field, standing on the touchline. And Pickford spots him, and Trippier doesn't move. Like, he is standing in a spot. Pickford plays the ball over a bunch of different players and puts it right on Trippier's chest.
Picks him out. How do you think the family got that name?
By picking the right American automobile manufacturer.
I don't get that, but I'm laughing anyway.
Pickford. Get it together, Daryl. Get it together.
Very nice.
I thought you were the master pun.
I
feel like you're about to come back at me with the quality of my pun.
I think game recognises not game.
That's fair. Well, I recognize Jordan Pickford's game in a variety of different ways, but also I recognize England's ability to make the semi-final. How do you feel?
I mean, great. So my football fandom started in 1990 when England went to the semi-finals of the World Cup. And childish me thought, oh, it's always like this?
Yeah.
I just had to wait 28 years, and here we are again. So don't get rid of that waistcoat, Taylor.
No.
And maybe I'll get one as well.
Yeah.
And if England wins the World Cup, then we could be men in waistcoats.
That's the plan.
We rename the show.
Yeah. We got to redo a lot of branding. But we're going to change back from the World Cup Daily tag anyway. So we may as well. We can add it all together.
Soccer Daily?
Yeah.
By men in waistcoats.
Are there songs written about vests? I have to assume there are. If so, then that will be the new theme song. We're set to go.
Is a waistcoat and a vest the same thing?
I think so.
Yeah? All right. If you say so. if
I don't
you
know.
say so.
I didn't really know what a waistcoat was to begin with. I took your word for it.
All right, so there's another game to discuss.
We're learning that I don't know a lot about laundry and fabric today.
We certainly are. That's
but
a
I
theme
know
of today.
a decent enough about belts.
You know how to hold up some fabric.
Yes, I do.
Yes. So today's show is
With
sponsored
my hands. I mean, Grip 6 belts.
by Grip 6 Belts.
Yeah.
Thank you, Grip 6 Belts, for sponsoring. It's GRIP, the number 6 belts. This is made in the USA. It's a Utah company that we're really excited to be partnered with. And it's not just a regular old belt, right?
No,
There's
it's
no
not.
flaps, no holes. This is lightweight and ultra secure.
The buckle is made of aircraft-grade aluminum. This strap is durable nylon webbing with a breaking strength of 2,700 pounds. That means, Daryl,
That's a
even
lot.
your mama could use it. Ooh, in your face.
You've met my mother.
I have.
How dare you?
Please don't tell her I said that.
I'm going to send her an excerpt from this. Whew. It's going to take me a second to recover from that. All right.
Your mama jokes always do.
The Grip 6 belt, only in America.
Wilder Valmarama, if you're listening, I'm available.
Grip 6 belt
Yeah.
is very secure because it has a different type of fastening mechanism, patented, I believe. So we thought, sponsored by Grip 6, we should ask which team should have been more secure during the World Cup. Which of the, because we've now seen the Croatia-Russia game, which of the 28 teams that has now exited the tournament should have tightened up with a Grip 6 belt?
Yep. Look, it's been long enough, guys. I'm sorry. We might get tweets about it. Mexico against Sweden is the one that comes to mind. A little bit too open, a little bit too available for Swedish counterattacks. I think maybe they could have tightened up just a little bit.
Interesting.
And maybe Germany for South Korea's second goal. Maybe Manuel Neuer should have tightened up a little bit and not been 80 yards out of position trying to do a fancy move around a Korean defender.
Not played left wing.
Probably
it's
not
the third division at the World Cup, Manuel Neuer. I would say Argentina.
Yep.
I think Argentina were much too open in multiple games, right?
Yeah.
Too much like, we just set Messi up to win. Don't really think about having a good defensive structure. They should have tightened up with a Grip 6 belt.
They definitely had holes.
They
were not a Grip 6 belt.
Yeah, I mean, Croatia played straight through them. The other great thing about Grip 6 is they give you the guarantee. That's their phrasing, not ours, but I like it. The guarantee. That means that any belt can be returned for a full refund plus the return shipping, which they'll pay anytime, any condition, any reason. So this is Grip 6 standing behind their belt saying, if you're not happy with it, we'll completely refund you.
Even if Daryl's dad wears it and wears it out, they'll replace it. That's a double burn. And best of all,
You've met my family.
You can go to grip6.com. That's GRIP, the number 6.com, and use the promo code TSS to get 15% off.
I would never insult your family in a podcast ad.
That's fair.
Not least because your dad watched the game with us.
That's true. Also, you're a gentleman.
And
You say things like waistcoats.
Grip 6 do not endorse your mama jokes or your papa jokes or whatever it is that Taylor just did.
That's fair. Once again, though, that's GRIP, the number 6.com, TSS for 15% off.
Thank you, Grip 6, for sponsoring today's show. Are you ready to talk the final quarterfinal that we have to talk about?
As I triumphantly put down the copy points and pick up my notes, such as they are from this game. Yes, let's talk about it.
So, it finished. Croatia 2, Russia 2. It went to penalty kicks, and it was a victory for Hrvatska with the final penalty kick from Ivan Rakitic.
Yep. And I think full disclosure here, we thought this would be a more defensive game, specifically from Russia. We thought
if you heard our preview.
Yeah. We thought it would be Russia sitting back, Croatia having a lot of the ball. And the full disclosure part of that was that it ended with me going back and rewatching a lot of the tactical cam and saying to Daryl, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what they're trying to do.
This was a wacky game, right? It was a scrappy game as well, because I felt like every 20, 30 seconds there was a stoppage for a foul or a free kick or a throw-in or something. This game did not flow.
It did not. And I think, if you'll permit me, here's my quick summary of what we think maybe happened is essentially we think that Russia, we thought they were going to come out in a back three, back five, and I think Croatia did too. That's why you had Modric and Rakitic as your two holding midfielders.
They didn't have a Brozovic or any other type of defensive midfielder.
I think that was because they expected to have more of the ball in Russia's defensive third, certainly in Russia's half. When that wasn't the case, when Russia came out in a 4-2-3-1 and were a little bit more aggressive, they again were looking for those long balls to Zuba, knockdown for Golovin or Cheryshev. I think it kind of made Croatia backpedal a little bit, and so it started to be a lot of kick it long for the big men. Croatia had Mandzukic there. Russia, as I said, had Zuba, and it just became very disjointed with lots of fouls and lots of free kicks.
And so kick it long makes it sound a bit aimless. I think they both, because Russia had Zuba and Croatia had Mandzukic, they could aim direct balls for chest or head or maybe even feet, but it really did make the game very, very scrappy.
Yes. So you did get sequences of play that were very pretty. Like there was one that comes to mind specifically for Croatia in the first half when it was just Modric and Rakitic. When they did finally get into a more advanced position in possession, they really did a good job of moving the ball around, finding opportunities. It ended in a good Croatia shot that I believe was turned over for a corner.
Do you feel like Modric and Rakitic tried to make a soccer match happen sometimes in the middle of the field?
I do.
A lot of other players were willing to go for a more direct type of game.
I also do.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so to the goals. First half, there were 2 goals. They seemed to both come out of nowhere.
Pretty much.
Cheryshev scored for Russia in the 31st minute, equalised by Kramaric for Croatia in the 40th. I'd like to start with the Cheryshev goal, this one that really took us by surprise. But when we rewatched it, it sort of makes sense.
It sort of makes sense, but it is still, I think it's Russia like playing the ball long. It's headed sort of clear by Dejan Lovren, but it's basically collected by Cheryshev. Cheryshev lays it into Zuba. Zuba lays it off. Great shot by Cheryshev. 1-0 to Russia. But as you said, there's a decent amount of other stuff happening in this sequence.
First of all, why is Zuba so easily able to play that 1-2 with Cheryshev? To me, I think he takes a couple touches, right? Cheryshev plays it into his feet. Zuba's able to touch and move a bit. And
I think he receives, turns, and then plays with the outside of his right. So there's at least a couple touches in there,
Way too casual, right? So why aren't Croatia on Zuba and, making it hard for him? Why isn't there an elbow in his back? Why isn't there a kick in his shins? Or maybe even an attempt to play the ball.
This is complete speculation, as is most of what I say, but I think maybe it's just the Croatia game plan. The expectation was, if Zuba is getting the ball, it's his back to goal. He's only dangerous inside the box, so as long as he's outside the box, we can let him have a little bit of room. But I'm assuming the expectation was if he's receiving the ball with back to goal, it means he's got runners coming off. So make sure you drop in and block those runners and defend against them.
I think you're right. They do start backpedaling almost as soon as Zuba has the ball. You see Lovren, and especially Vida, starts to go backwards.
I mean, Lovren literally sprints back 5 yards.
I think Vida sprints back 5 yards.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Lovren aimlessly drifts to the middle.
Yeah. And I think they're ready for Zuba to lay it off, and then maybe there's a cross coming in. They're mostly thinking, let's get set up to head this away from the ball that's definitely coming in for big old Artem Zuba. What they're not ready for is when Zuba lays it off to Cheryshev. Cheryshev bursts, right? He bursts away from, I believe, Modric and Rakitic.
Yep.
Does he get through both of them?
He gets around Rakitic, and then Modric, I think, thinks that there's going to be a pass from Cheryshev to Samadov, I think it was. So he tries to cut that pass out, but the space he vacates is basically where Cheryshev cuts in and then plays the ball to Zuba. So then they've basically been split. And again, I think this is why Croatia were content to go long for long stretches of this game, is because if you can get past Rakitic or Modric, or if they cough the ball up in their half, it really leaves the defense vulnerable because they're transitioning and trying to deal with the runners through. It allows for opportunities for Russia.
And I would say Rakitic and Modric really were great in this game. So much energy all over the place, moving the ball when they could. I think both scored penalty kicks in the shootout, for example. But this is why you can't play these two guys as your two defensive midfielders, because neither of them is particularly defensively. I'm going to finish the sentence and say astute, but I mostly mean they just don't have the knock you over or the make sure this doesn't happen, the Casemiro mentality, right? There's a reason that Real Madrid pair Modric with Casemiro. There's a reason that Rakitic is not the sole defensive midfielder for Barcelona, right? They both were a little too easy for Cheryshev to go past.
I'll put it this way. Like, Luka Modric is a phenomenal player. There's not going to be a but here, other than to say slide tackling is not his priority, right?
Yes.
Like he certainly knows how to do it. He knows how to slide tackle, but it is not the thing he does as well as, say, Brozovic.
Does he attempt to slide tackle?
Yes, he does. He pulls out of it because he correctly realizes that if he goes in the way he was going to, it's absolutely going to be a free kick, and more importantly, it's probably going to be a yellow. I think he's already on a yellow.
So he nearly did a Paul Scholes.
Yeah, I did get that wrong on Twitter, so maybe don't back me when it comes to who had yellows and who didn't, but I think he and Rakitic were both carrying yellow cards, which I think is probably why he pulls out of that tackle. But I think Brozovic, at the very least, knows you put an arm in, you put a little bit in, you put him off. Same thing with Zuba. You put an arm into his back. You just let him know you're there. You don't let them get comfortable. Yep. But certainly, it's still, all that said, it is a phenomenal strike from Cheryshev that really, even if you put that tackle in, I'm not sure if you're able to do it in time to block the screamer of a shot.
I think it's a screamer. We figured this out, right? It's because that ball is bouncing ever so slightly. He hits it as it bounces up.
Yep.
So he takes it out of the air on the up and yet manages to keep it low enough that it goes top left corner. And really, Subasic in goal is just like, what?
What? That's not allowed.
What happened now?
Yep, pretty much. So it's 1-0 to Russia for about 8 minutes, and then like 39:58, I think, is when that ball goes in. Or 38:58, something like that. Yeah,
Kramaric heads in a low cross from Mario Mandzukic. What I find really interesting and very symbolic of this game is how we end up in that situation with Mandzukic free on the left to chip the ball in for Kramaric.
Sure. I mean, do you mean the fact that we cut back to Mandzukic already on the ball, dribbling down the left-hand channel? Yep. And that's because we're getting replays of prior incidents because it's a goal kick for Croatia. So the producers, they usually do, cut away. They show us some fans. They show us some replays. Cuts back to Mandzukic on the break.
Worth underlining, this is not Fox's fault.
No.
This is the global feed. I've forgotten the name of the company, but FIFA employs a company to do one global feed. Each TV company does not have its own cameras filming the game, because can you imagine you'd need a whole extra stadium?
You would. But when you get the replays of it, it's essentially a goal kick taken relatively short in that it's Subasic plays it to his left back, Strinic, on the touchline, similar to the ball that was played in the first game to Trippier. It took me a minute. It's been a while. But it's a great ball across the field. Strinic is able to flick it on and then gets absolutely cleaned out by Fernandez, who has gone streaming forward, and I don't really know why he did that.
I think he really thought he could get to this ball and there'd be some sort of counter on, but because Russia are in a back four, also Manuel Fernandez is by trade a wing back, so maybe he's used to having a bit more freedom to go up the wing. He has left his other three defenders, Ignashevich, Kutupov, and the substitute left back, whose name, that guy, left them exposed, right? Because once he is gone, the ball drops to Perisic gives it to Mandzukic, everybody has to shift over. Kutupov is taken out, so suddenly now Ignashevich is left one-on-one with Mandzukic.
That's the key thing, because then Kutupov has to slide out to try to deal with Perisic, and I think he similarly thinks, I'll make a play on Perisic and I'll cut this out now, but Perisic just has a one little flick down the line, and suddenly you've taken away Russia's basically their two right-sided defenders are out of the equation completely, and then Ignashevich has to come across and the hole opens up in the middle for Kramaric.
So I would call this a systemic failure triggered by Manuel Fernandez.
Yeah.
He's the guy that spilled coffee on the computer, and that was the computer that controlled the whole network.
Yep.
And the whole thing went down.
But again,
he should not have gone charging out.
No, certainly not. But it's a good...
Interesting day for Manuel Fernandez.
It's a good indicator. Very interesting
Is
day.
it Mario or Manuel? I keep just calling him Manuel.
It's one of those.
M. Fernandez.
Yes, perfect. Love it. But I think it's also a good indicator of what was happening in this game because, as the commentators pointed out, Stu Holt and John Strong, I think from goal kick to back of the net, it's 13 seconds of play. But it's also a good reminder of what happens when your defense is caught out, when you're sort of in transition, because Kudryshov, the deputy left back, he is caught between trying to get to Kramaric in time for when this ball comes in from Mandzukic, but then he also checks behind him and sees that Ante Rebic is streaming it at the back post as well. And so because I think he's caught between the two, he gambles on the ball going to Rebic, and so he's kind of turning and running away, slips and falls, and they both end up being pretty much open, but it's Kramaric with the header.
Does he just think, maybe if I just duck down I won't get framerized?
That could also be.
The camera can't catch me.
I'm going to drop out of the shot. Is that what you were thinking? I know you were also doing some searching.
It's Mario Fernandez.
That's what
it's Mario
I figured you were looking
Fernandez.
Up frantically.
If you tweeted to correct me, then I beat you to it.
Is there a dash over the A or not, Daryl?
I don't know.
The answer is yes.
All right.
I also looked it up.
It definitely is. Mario Fernandez.
So 1-1 finishes that way. We go to extra time.
Yeah.
Should we jump all the way there?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. I mean, because this game was interesting but rough, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of... I don't think there's anything particularly interesting tactically or event-wise to break down in the rest of normal time because it was so scrappy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was. I would say that if there were one player who really did try to go for it at the end of regulation, certainly in extra time, it was Luka Modric, who he had some runs in there that I don't know how he mustered that energy, and if he were playing for his opposite number, I might have some question marks around how fit Luka Modric looked.
How he had so many red blood cells.
Yes.
All right, so in the 100th minute, it's Vida.
Yep.
Vida not only scores this goal from a corner kick, he wins this corner kick.
He sure does.
Because he has been pressed into service over at right back due to injury. Am I correct?
Yeah, Versalco, the right back, it looked like he was holding his knee, which is never a good thing. But he
just held his knee and pointed
to
to the bench and did the substitute me symbol.
He did like a little outside of the foot pass, and you can see him grimace. And from then on, he's not able to play. So Chorluka comes in, Vida goes to right back. An overlapping Vida is the one who plays the ball in.
Gets to bombing down that right wing. Yeah, go on, Vida. Wins the corner kick. Then he's on the end of the corner kick to score. Ignashevich was the one who's correctly posterized here because he was supposed to be marking Vida.
Well, here's the weird thing about all of these goals is I would say like the Cheryshev and the Kremerich goals are both sort of come from nothing. Like one is that just a quick combination, a shot from distance. The other is off the goal kick. It's a quick counter and it's a goal. These goals are also very similar because Vida's header, it's not like there's some elaborate set piece. It's just you play the ball into the box. I think you're right. Ignashevich should be marking him and maybe gets lost. Maybe gets a little bit of a bump from Mandzukic. But it's Vida behind Ignashevich who gets ahead to it. Yep. Then there's like a little bit of confusion because Troluka has continued his run. He kind of screens, and there's a debate as to whether or not he gets a foot to it. His celebration would indicate he does not. But it's still just sort of nothing too elaborate or designed about this. It's just played in the box and hope something happens.
I would argue, this doesn't happen often, but both these goals, the Vida goal and then the later equalizer by Fernandez, are both failures of man marking. Almost in a systemic way.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because, like, again, zonal marking gets blamed when someone doesn't pick up the man because it's like fallen between zones or someone's failed to attack the ball. Man marking doesn't tend to get the blame. The player tends to get the blame when the defensive team isn't able to be proactive and aggressive enough, which is what happens with both Ignashevich marking Vida and later on with Mandzukic marking Fernandez. So I would put the blame on the system as well as the man here.
I would,
or just give the credit to the guy that attacks the ball.
I think Vida. That, but I would also say I have a hard time like blaming the system when it comes to Russia's equalizer because for me, Mario Mandzukic, it's just he is done. He is so tired, and in fact, I believe I'm correct in saying he doesn't take a penalty, and I do wonder if maybe his level of fatigue factors into that decision.
Yes,
because his
is worse, right?
So this is theoretically marking Fernandez.
I just want to make sure no one's lost in the chronology. It was 2-1 to Croatia. Russia kind of looked beaten, but it gave us an exciting 5-10 minutes of Russia just absolutely going for it. They get the equaliser from... It's not a corner kick, it's a free kick.
It is.
Let's set up this free kick because I'm fascinated by this free kick.
Sure.
It's the substitute left back. Pivarich comes in. There's a ball played in behind him for, is it Gazinski?
It is.
Running in behind. Pivarich knows that he's beaten, so he does the chicken wing. He does a little chicken wing arm and just pops it at the ball, just hoping to get away with it, I think.
I mean, I think he's okay with like giving up the free kick if he has to, but he definitely like puts the chest down as though it was like, oops, I meant to play it with my chest and just got my arm. And I really think that's almost I'm going to concede a handball because otherwise this could be way worse, but I'm going to try to make it look like at least I was trying to play the ball so I don't get a yellow/red card.
That's a very good summary.
But then here's some interesting things about this one. So you get the free kick, it's right on the edge of the box. It is basically like touching the paint or the chalk or whatever that might be, and then it's not because it's rolled back about a foot.
By Jagoev, right?
Yeah.
Jagoev who takes this.
And that doesn't seem like much, but it can be when you need a little bit of room to get the ball up and down or when you need just a little bit more room to navigate the free kick.
Because it was arguably too close to cross to begin with, but too wide to shoot. So Jagoev wisely just rolls it back a yard or two.
And that's on the Croatian wall, I think, because players are going to try that type of thing. The referee is going to be distracted by pushing and shoving and making sure it's 10 yards. He's already set the wall. That's when the ball gets rolled back. And I think the Croatian wall should be paying attention to that and saying, hey, he moved it back. Move it back into the right spot.
So they should snitch, basically.
Or they should move forward. And
they should keep 10 yards by taking a couple steps forward.
Yeah, and if there's... I guess then you run into the issue
Harry Maguire would snitch.
He would, and I think that is the right thing to do, weirdly enough, because if you step forward, there's an obvious line that's been spray painted.
Yes.
And so then they're just going to say, like, oh, they stepped over the line. It becomes a weird sort of pointing fingers at different lines and shapes. So I think it's probably...
We need John Goodman.
Yeah, the wall should have had a word with the official. They don't. The ball comes in, and it's a header by Fernandez.
And it's a weird non-attempt to contest the header by Mario Mandzukic. He jumps and does the heading motion as if this ball is just landing on his head. We've watched this several times, right? He is definitely marking Mario Fernandez. He's definitely marking him. He just doesn't contest the ball. He assumes that Fernandez won't get there.
Yeah, Mark Fernandez? Yeah, it's weird. You wouldn't expect... I'm just trying to mess you with you now. But yeah, he's definitely marking...
You've already insulted both my parents, so you're... You got some
siblings. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, I really do think it's just sort of, it is that mental exhaustion of we're almost out of here. I'll get ahead to it. It'll be fine. Oops. And like you just don't realize in that moment. And that's really what it comes down to for me. Again, you're right. It's a failure of man marking in the sense that he was supposed to be man marking and didn't.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit man marking and a lot bit Mario Mandzukic. And that pains me to say because I do love Mario Mandzukic.
Yeah. So it was a failure of Mario marking.
There we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So that takes us to... full time.
That fits really well.
Yeah. I suspected we would get to penalties, but I thought it would be in a Russia 5-4-1 0-0 kind of way. So can I just say thank you to Chercheshev, the coach, for, I think, unwisely but interestingly opening this game up and making it more entertaining than we expected.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah?
I appreciate that. Yeah. And then the penalties did not disappoint either.
They got off to a weird start.
They did.
So Fyodor Smolov, who had come off the bench in the second half, I believe. Again, bold move from Chercheshev to bring Smolov on and have him alongside, up with Zuba in the attack.
Was weird that he replaced Chercheshev, who I did not expect to come off that early. Yeah.
Interesting.
But you do what you do.
Smolov steps up. He's got the first penalty kick. I believe he takes penalty kicks for Krasnodar because I went back and watched some of his penalty kicks. It's a disaster of a penalty. It's an actual disaster of a penalty kick. My read is this is an attempted Panenka, but he fails to go down the middle.
Agreed. Oh. And not even executed properly because the Panenka is the full run-up that disguises the fact that you're then just going to dead stop chip the ball right down the center. And he does the weird instep sort of chip, but he really does put it in the worst possible position to the extent that Subasic has already dived, basically. He has already made his decision, and then he, you can almost see it on the replay that he's like, oh, and just puts his hand up and stops it. It's not hit hard, it's not well hit, it's not difficult to save.
Because what's supposed to happen with the Panenka is you fake like you're going low and hard, and then the keeper dives, and he got all of that right. He sent Subasic the wrong way, but then didn't chip it in the correct spot. He chipped it within Subasic's reach.
Yeah, he chipped it low and to the left. If you're going to go to a direction at all, at least put the ball high because it's got to be enough to get over that outstretched hand. In this case, not so much.
Disaster from Smolov. Did he also lose the psychological battle in the
I think that's what
build-up to taking it?
Because you said, you were saying he usually aims high, right? He usually goes for that driven penalty?
I went back and watched some of his penalties. He always goes to the left, but he either goes low or high, but hard, right? And I think in trying to go down the middle, something in his natural habit was to go left. So that's why he ended up going half middle, half left, even though he did the Panenka. He's going to want this one back. He's going to really regret that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, certainly. But I think that it is maybe the case that he walks up and then has to stop and wait because Subasic is getting instructions and the ref's talking to him and the ref's telling him to stay on his line. Actually, he's not even telling him to stay on his line. I think he's just briefing Subasic on some stuff because then the ref gets a ball, then he gives it to Smolov, then Smolov is waiting as Subasic refuses to go back to his line. And it really is a long time of Smolov just standing there and having to think and having to figure stuff out. And it may well be that he was going to hit the ball low and hard and then thought better, or it may be that he was always going to Panenka and in the last second thought, maybe I'll chip it instead, or maybe I'll aim it to one side or the other.
Maybe I'll try half and half. Best of both worlds.
Either way, I think he definitely lost that battle. And from then on, Russia are kind of just trying to catch up.
They're one behind, right? Yeah. So you got your penalty kick notes, right?
I do.
What else stands out from this penalty shootout? Beautifully drawn notes, by the way, Ted.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try. I mean, I say they're basically always behind. Kovacic misses the second one for Croatia, so things seem like they're back on balance for Russia, and then Fernandez misses his. It would be harsh to put this loss on him missing a penalty because he did so much. Still not a very good penalty. He scuffs it. I think Stu Holden correctly pointed out he gets his plant foot too close, and he's trying to go to his natural side. If you're a right-footed taker, that would be hitting it to your left, the keeper's right. But I think he just overcorrects because it's too close and hits it well wide.
So he's going low and hard, bottom left, but he goes low and hard, wide left.
Which it's worth noting is Ignashevich came fourth, Kuzyaev came fifth. Both of them hit it in that same spot. They just put it inside the goal. But I do think that was kind of what they were all supposed to be aiming for, was bottom left, or in Jagoev's case, bottom right.
Here's my theory of this. It all rests on the Modric penalty kick. Because if Modric scores, that puts Croatia ahead. If he'd missed that, things would have been level.
Yep. Level and at the same round, basically, yeah.
He goes low,
he does.
Right? Akinfeev dives, gets a hand to it. Does he deflect it off a post?
Off the post, yep.
And then back over, and then it goes inside the other side netting.
Yep.
This is very lucky from Luka Modric.
It certainly is.
Unlucky for Igor Akinfeev.
Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing he could have done Akinfeev, because by the time he realizes what's happened, the ball's already in the net.
I was wondering that. Could he have popped up in time, scampered over and stretched out and saved it again? I'm talking legally. I believe the answer is yes, right?
I think you can, yeah.
But maybe not physically.
Probably not. No. But you're absolutely right, though, because if he saves this, it's also the player that you would expect to put that penalty away for Croatia, even though he's already missed one in the tournament. You still kind of have the faith in him to get it done. He's the captain for Croatia, so if Modric missed that, it is definitely a massive psychological blow. That it goes in also can flip the script a little bit and make Russia feel like, oh boy, like maybe this is not the day.
Yeah.
If that's going to happen, what's going to happen to us?
And finally, it comes down to Ivan Rakitic versus Igor Akinfeev. And the situation is if Rakitic scores, they're through. If he does not, then sudden death.
Yep.
Rakitic takes care of business.
And I think if you look at the way Akinfeev reacts to this one, just how upset he is, not even upset, like, because, you've just been eliminated from the World Cup, but it definitely has an air of, like, I have made a mistake. We went back and watched, and it seems like a decent number of Ivan Rakitic's takes are to his favored left side.
Yep.
And in this one,
he fakes a little to the right, but almost always bangs it low and left.
And that's what he did here, and that's what he did.
That's what he did against Denmark.
That's what he did against Denmark, and it makes me wonder if Akinfeev started doing this sort of inconceivable logic of, well, it could be this, and it could be this, and then it could be that, and therefore it's this, and just thought, oh, he did that in the last game, he'll switch it up and try to trick me, he'll go to the opposite side, so I'll dive to the opposite side, because until Vida, who was the fourth taker, and then Rakitic, the fifth taker, Akinfeev had guessed the right way every time, and then the last two he guessed wrong.
But spoiler alert for Princess Bride, Rakitic had made himself immune to that poison. He puts it low and left, and Croatia are through to the World Cup semi-finals for the first time since 1998, he said, without consulting a history book.
Sure, that sounds right. I would also add, Subasic, once again, he gets the two stops in this one. He made stops against Denmark as well. Excellent penalty performance. I genuinely think just guessing. Like, I think it's in the moment he kind of decides, I'm going this way or the other way, because there wasn't much rhyme or reason to what he was doing. At one point, for Fernandez's miss, he didn't even dive. He just stayed central. I was like, oh, well, that worked out well. So, I mean, still.
So is Subasic more of a psychological battle goalkeeper? Because he does a lot of the on the line dancing. He did a lot of the in-your-face thing with Smolov for the first kick. I think it's more about that than about research or reading the taker or anything like that.
I mean, he may be doing some research as well. I wouldn't rule that out. But I think it's certainly worth noting that only one of these goalkeepers was threatened with don't walk off your line again, and that was Subasic. I don't remember Akinfeev really trying to do any of that sort of head games, and I think it was probably because he had his notes and he was following his notes.
Okay, Croatia are through to the semi-finals. They'll face England. The other semi-final will be France-Belgium. It's all European, but it feels really good. And I'm not saying it feels good because it's European. I'm saying both.
The backpedal.
I'm saying both of these matchups feel really interesting. Yeah, France and Belgium's an interesting game. England-Croatia's an interesting game. We'll be back on Monday to preview both of those games. We're going to take Sunday off. One thing I would just like to add is that we're surprised how far Russia went in this tournament, right?
Sure. I mean, yes, in the sense that I did not expect them to make the quarterfinals.
Let's not have the blood doping conversation again. Let's put that to one side and just think that we thought this was going to be one of the worst host nation soccer teams of all time. And yet they've gone to the quarterfinals and only then lost on penalty kicks. Chercheshev can be, again, blood doping aside, accusations aside, can be proud of the job he's done, right? Golovin performed.
You got everybody wearing mustaches again.
The mustaches, like Chercheshev, are the Gareth Southgate waistcoats of Russia right now. You saw them in the crowd, right? Yeah. So well done to Chercheshev and Russia for making it to the quarterfinals as the host nation, even though the head of the Russian Football Federation is a guy that is banned by the International Olympic Committee.
Even though.
But I want to say an actual congratulations to Russia, unless and until we hear otherwise. How about that?
Fine.
Asterix.
That works for me.
Asterix. Okay. Taylor Rockwell. I said we're going to take
qualified praise.
We're going to take Sunday off. Right? Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today, Asterix.
Right back at you, buddy. No asterisk.
Listeners, thank you for listening very sincerely. We look forward to talking to you again on Monday.